Hello, wondrous creatures. I'm excited. So we're gonna get this shit cracking. We're gonna talk to free range sex. Her name is actually Serena. It's gonna be actually pretty exciting because this will be our first time ever video chatting with each other. So we shall see what happens. We will be talking about body image, about sexuality, and just what she's actually up to. Hello. And then we're just gonna go from there. So this is actually my first time doing this with her. So she's just still actually just trying to learn the ropes herself. But we're just gonna see how this goes, okay? I'm currently waiting for her to join. There she is. All right, free range. Yep, there you go. And we go. She did it. Okay, let's see. Oh, wait, let's try that. Yeah, that's my girl. What is up?
I'm sideways. Are you sideways? Are we both up?
No, you are sideways.
Okay. Let's see here. Learning, just like you said. Okay.
Ta-da. See,
Hi.
I love it. Okay, perfection. Yay, it's lovely to meet you. I love this. This is so much fun.
You too. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Of course, I saw your post and I just thought to myself, I have to have her on. Oh, this would be so much fun. Why not? I like the name too, free range sex. I'm all about like just sex awareness, sex positivity, like body image, and just all that glorious stuff. So when I saw you post that, I just thought, oh my God, I have to invite her on and just like go from there. So hello everyone, thank you for joining, appreciate it. We're gonna just keep rolling with it and just excited for everyone else to join on as well too. But just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Serena Davidson. I am the founder of the Free Range Sex Movement, which is a business that I started just about a year ago. It's like my 1 year anniversary about.
Oh my goodness, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I've actually been able to work with different people on 5 different continents in the past year, so that's really amazing for me, and I've totally loved helping people. I work with recovering good girls like me, people who are raised with body shame and sexuality shame and a lot of, cultures that really insist on absolute chastity and abstinence.
Yeah.
So working with people who are raised as female but could be identified as cis women or trans or gender fluid or gender expansive in any way.
Oh yes, please. Let's dive more into stuff like that. I like that. Like, explain that to the audience that will be watching this video, and just that way they have a better idea, because not a lot of people understand what that even means, and that way we all have a broad perception of like what that is.
Totally. So if you're a cis individual, that means that your gender identity matches the gender assignment that you were given at birth, I believe. I mean, it also is referred to as people who identify with the gender role that society gives to their body type. Mm-hmm. So according to our genitalia, people expect us to behave in certain gender roles, as we all know. Mm-hmm. And people who are not into that, like me, even though I present pretty femme and I don't feel like I'm a man, I don't feel like I want to or naturally would fit into the gender roles of what society expects a feminine person to be. So my pronouns that I use are she and her, or they, them. And I'm also actually personally just pretty comfortable with people if they also accidentally call me he, him, because it's happened all my life and it just doesn't really bother me.
Okay, so it's only happened to me when I had a shaved head or when I had short hair. This actually happened during the pandemic, so this grew out within just a year. But I used to have a bald head, and I used to have short, just haircuts. I just always loved just short haircuts, and I've always like presented myself for people that like know me as like a masculine, just kind of like individual, or like come out as like dominance. So I can understand exactly, like, but I personally identify myself as a she.
Yeah.
Now, when you say they or them, that's another thing that I've had many conversations with different individuals, even just people on the street, just so curious as to like what that means to them and like how, like, when if they have friends that do classify themselves as non-binary and then classify those, say they or them. So like if you could like express that one as well too, that would be awesome.
Well, people who identify mainly or exclusively as they, them, in my personal experience, I have had friends and acquaintances who do identify as they, them only, and it's very sensitive because they are individuals who have felt so invisible or disrespected by people in their lives and society in general by being boxed into a gender role that just really does not fit at all. And when they're referred to as the assumptions, the pronouns that people assume instead of being respected with using pronouns that someone self-identifies with, it can be incredibly triggering or at least upsetting or irritating and annoying because they've had to put up with this gender role that was forced on them in ways that have caused wounds. And that's rough. And we all have traumas and wounds from our lives, regardless of how easy life has been. People go through stuff. Life is like that. And with people who don't fit into society's gender norms and expectations, it's a constant daily battle to be seen and heard and valued and respected for who they really are, instead of people imposing what society or their own beliefs and views are on them.
Okay, but so go ahead.
That being said, I mess it up for other people, and it's challenging for me sometimes to keep up with all the things, and especially when you have friends who are changing pronouns at different times through transitions. It can be rough. It can be really rough just for my memory and for my mouth to like remember the right words and all that stuff. So I just got to empathize, with both, well, all the perspectives, all the angles.
No, I actually have recently bumped into that just a little bit myself lately, where someone identified themselves as they, them, and I accidentally said the word that was not necessary, and thankfully they corrected me, so I was very happy about that, because I'm just so used to what, like we keep talking about, like what we're describing, and I'm just like, okay, I'm learning, so this is something exciting for me as well too. Correct me if I'm wrong. I love being corrected, especially when I'm wrong, and I just like, it's just a learning process for all of us. It's just when I was explaining to them to correct me, I was like, do that for everyone. Like, don't ever be ashamed. Don't apologize for like, just, if that's what you identify yourself as, literally just correct people in a very, obviously, they did it in a very nice way, where they said, hey, you identified me and said this on accident. I don't know if I said that in particular, that I don't classify myself as that, but I would appreciate it if you said it just like this. I said, I am so sorry. I apologize. Thank you so much for correcting me. Moving forward, I will definitely correct my vocabulary and just go from there, just because I was also explaining to them, this is just what I'm personally used to. I'm not used to like hanging out with even friends that even like will classify themselves as like a they or a them. So for me, that was still something new. And it was exciting. Like, I love learning new things where I'm like having to correct myself, and like for somebody else is also, for me, a personal comfort. If this is what's going to make you happy, which obviously it is, then I would love to do this for you, because it's literally a little of like nothing to change my vocabulary, just a little bit, for this individual. So it was all the world.
That sounds like one of those beautiful, friendly experiences of being called in instead of called out. right? So
Mhm.
like when we
I like that.
invite people to join us in doing something differently instead of being like, hey, you messed up, you did it wrong, it can be a
Yeah.
lot easier. And it's a lesson for me too. I'm preaching to myself right now too, because
Oh, I love it. I love it.
sometimes in certain situations I can just be like, hey, that's sexist, don't be so misogynistic. And at times I could take a sit down in a quiet moment to just like a breath and be like, you probably didn't realize that was kind of offensive to me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to let you know that doing it this way would be a lot more easy to interact with, or something like that.
100%. My biggest thing is just honest and transparency. With my biggest thing, especially if I'm going to be hanging around with people, if there's something I did, if there's something I said, please let me know. Like, if I don't know, right over my head. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
Totally.
like, yeah. And I just love the honest, and them just being like, hey, if you could so kindly, I would so kindly enjoy doing that just for you.
Totally.
I appreciate it.
I also have to say though
that?
that for anyone who's constantly having to advocate for themselves, it can be really tiring to always be the one that has to correct people.
Yes.
And it
That's
can really
why
be.
there's some people have pins.
Go ahead.
Yes, some people have pins. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where they'll like have where it says they them. I met actually an individual who lives in San Jose. Met them there. We were working, and I had seen them literally wear the pin. I've actually seen two people do this, and I was just I just loved it. I looked at it, and just common sense just rushed right through my head. It was just like, okay, you classify yourself as that, and I love that you did that, because then it shows me, because then they don't have to always go back and forth and be like, hey, yeah, no, you just called me a he. I'm not a he. I don't classify myself as a he. I classify myself as a they or a them. Can you please just say it like that? Instead of just wearing like a pin. That was fantastic. And I mean, even asking them, how does it make you feel wearing that pin? You know, like, and feeling like you have to, not like you're having to remind somebody, but kind of like you do have to remind them, but you're not having to verbally say it. You know what I'm saying? Like if someone, like instead of not wearing the pin, someone's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go get a smoothie for him. You know what I'm saying? Seeing their pin, and it's just like, oh, I'm going to go get a smoothie for them. Do you see what I'm saying? So for me, I'm just like, oh, that was wonderful. And I asked, and they had said that they enjoy the pin, that it's easier, it's so freaking easy, and that it's not even offensive at all, that they would even prefer always wearing that pin. That way, no one's confused. There's no like, oh, no, you're wearing this pin to look cute. No, this is literally who I am, and I'm just announcing myself before even shaking your hand. Hey, and you know before you know.
Yeah, that's nice. And also, learning styles are different. So some people learn better through audio and being told, and other people learn through visual. I'm very visual, so the pins would really help me. But again, I don't feel like an authority on this subject at all, because I am not someone who has a really sensitive preference around how people address me. And for those who do, I would default to asking individuals personally what is their preference, and if they're sensitive about it, if it's a sore spot, then I want to do my utmost to correct my language. But it's a challenge for me. I'm in my 40s, and I used to hear adults talk about how, oh, when you get older, it's harder to change and harder to remember things, and I was just like, oh, that's such a lame excuse. You need to try harder.
1,000,000%.
Now I'm there, and I'm just like, okay, I can't blame it on age. I need to do this. And it is more challenging. It's just not as easy as when I was in my 20s to adjust.
Yeah. It's just like learning. It's just like a learning new habit is what it really is. So the body image is really what is like, so I just love that. What made you post that? I just loved it so much. Like, I like the different sizes, I like the different shapes, I just like the different, just everything about it. Please express like why you posted that, and just like your thought process on like why you wanted to express that to the world.
Well, I'm a fourth generation professional photographer, and I've kind of retired from my photography career. I still shoot for fun and stuff and for my own business. But as a photographer, I am going through all these stock images that I'm using for my current business emails and posts and stuff. And most of the stock photography is a bunch of skinny white ladies that are younger.
Yeah.
And we really need a different reflection of reality. That's not reality. That's just a really intensely filtered racist reality that it's not inclusive. I mean, I feel like, I'm not the right person to be preaching about being a, like, I'm a skinny white lady, kind of. I'm definitely a white lady, although I do use the term Caucasian these days more than white.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I use that too. When people hear me say it, I'm like, they're Caucasian. And they're like, what? I'm like, yes. I was like, that is the term. And they're like, but why don't you just say it this way? I was like, because personally, I don't know. It just feels more comfortable for me to just say it this way. Than to just say it. I don't know why. For me, it's just like the other way. It just sounds like it's like I don't know. It just sounds like.
As I've been learning more about the things that are educating me better about racism, I have learned more not only about the issues that are affecting people of color, but also the reasons. I couldn't teach it, so don't ask me to explain it, but...
It's okay. No, you're totally fine. We're here to talk about fun, sexy time, sex bodiness, and all that other goodness.
But all of this is part of it, right? Because it's all about self-acceptance and 100%. About really looking in the mirror and being happy with who you are, regardless of the way that other people perceive you or things that other people put on you from your appearance and the way you present yourself in the world. A lot of things about us are not a choice. I can't
100%.
I can't not be Caucasian. I was going to say I can't not have brown hair. I can dye my hair, but it's not going to grow out in blue or pink naturally. Just this color. But there's a lot of stuff that we just can't change. I can't change my height. I can't change my skin. I can't, my voice, all the things. So the way that we're perceived by other people is something that in such a biased society, in such a patriarchal, racist society, it is wearing on people who do not fit the conventional standards. And even though I extremely fit the conventional standards in so many ways, I am still someone who feels like I don't really. Like, I often have feelings of like needing to remind myself that the way I am is beautiful and that the way that I am is something that I can be happy with. Because, there's so many different types of beauty, and it's easy to constantly have a new ideal that you'd like to be instead of who you actually are.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that. Yes. 100%. I remember just growing up just thinking to myself, like, obviously, like, you see the magazines, you're seeing all this, like, social media, and then you're, like, seeing all these people just being like, oh my God, she's so hot. It's just like, that's what hot is. Like, that's what, like, their whole little persona is. So, like, growing up as, like, a little girl, obviously, into a grown woman now, just looking at myself in the mirror, oh my goodness. I'm just very happy I, like, kind of crouched away from, like, that, thinking, like, that you have to be, like, that certain type of whatever it is, and just being like, I accept me for me. Like I have some friends, I know some individuals that would like get boob jobs, get their butts, done, or, get their lips done, or whatever it may be. And every time I'm always asked the question, well, what do you think? I think you look absolutely wonderful the way that you are, because you're unique to exactly what you're like created to be. But if this is going to make you feel confident in the world when you're presenting yourself, then I'm going to encourage it. But I'm going to also encourage you not to do it and to like really stare yourself in the mirror completely naked and just like fall in love with every single inch of you, and just like, I don't care what you're doing in that mirror. Make love to yourself for all I care. You know, touch certain spots that make you feel good, but just like fall in love with it, because at the end of the day, that's what you have to live with until you're kaput. So you might as well fall in love with what it is that you have created. And if you don't like it, if you're overweight or whatever it is, it's just losing the weight and just going from there.
Did I hear you just say
there's a solution to everything?
Did I hear you just advise that if people want to get a butt job, that they should masturbate in the mirror first and then make the decision? I think that's what I just heard.
Hey, I personally have masturbated to myself not liking certain parts of my body, and I had to like learn, because of like what society has like said, like certain, like I don't have big breasts. I have like A cup boobs, and a society is like, you know, B cup, C cup especially is like top notch, you know, pair
Right.
of the perfect size. And for me, I just remember just growing up just being like, oh, I just felt just ashamed of like having small breasts. It wasn't until I was like in my senior year of high school until like they actually started growing. I'm just like, oh my God, yeah, I don't look like a boy. But that's like what it was like. People would always be like, you know, like, you're just so flat chested. What's going on with you? There's nothing going on with me. My body's just growing as it's doing. And you know, being and doing what I do in the industry, obviously, like promoting and selling sex toys. I have mirrors all over my house. I'm just in love with my body. Like, I'll literally walk around completely naked, and yes, on occasion I'll go and like, you know, touch myself. There's nothing wrong with touching yourself. Obviously, I encourage everyone to do it. I think it's the most amazing thing in the whole world. You're gonna touch yourself better than someone else will, because you already know how to do it. So yes, I do encourage playing with your body and having fun with your body instead of just staring at it. You know, when you're staring at it, you're just kind of like, you know. But like when you're like, you know, thinking about the things that you do to somebody else, and then you're doing it to yourself, and you're like getting actually like aroused by like, you know, what you're doing, then you're like finding yourself falling in love with like actually what you have, and then just going from there.
Totally. I teach my clients the same thing in the free range sex movement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's just
and practice it myself too. Yeah. It's great. It's great. Mm-hmm. And if people haven't done it, or if they're not ready to yet, if they need a little guidance and encouragement, embracing that kind of thing, then I'm here to help. If you're a recovering good girl, I help people get to that point.
I love it. Yes, everyone who is watching, and I can't wait for those who are going to watch this video, follow this woman. She will help you with all your wondrous glories. And I'm actually really excited to see like your progression moving forward, and like hearing like your story. I can't wait to keep following you. But yes, to everyone who is watching and listening, play and masturbate with yourself in the mirror until you completely fall in love with yourself, because if you are not in love with yourself, and if you do not love yourself, how do you expect somebody else to love you?